June stood in the gleaming white hangar, gently stroking the smooth neck of his biomechanical horse. Duri's skin felt warm, almost alive, though June knew it was a complex blend of synthetic tissues and advanced technology. The horse's deep brown eyes watched him with what seemed like real affection. "Ready for another mission, old friend?" June whispered. Duri responded with a soft whicker, the sound perfectly mimicking a real horse. The door to the hangar slid open with a hiss. June didn't need to turn to know who it was. The precise, measured footsteps told him everything. "Still talking to your machine like it's a pet." Sumi's voice was cool and clear. "You know it's just responding to programmed voice cues, right?" June turned to face his rival. Sumi was dressed in the same gray uniform of the Galactic Defense Force, but hers was perfectly pressed without a wrinkle. Behind her walked her own biomechanical horse, Shull. Unlike Duri's warm brown coat, Shull was sleek black, with metal plating visible along his legs and flanks. His eyes glowed a faint blue. "Duri is more than just his programming," June replied. "We've been through too much together." Sumi rolled her eyes. "Sentimentality is inefficient. I programmed Shull for maximum combat performance. No distractions, no unnecessary bonding routines." She patted her horse's neck with the same emotion she might show when checking a weapon. A voice came over the hangar speakers. "Specialists June and Sumi, report to Briefing Room 7 immediately." The two riders walked side by side down the long corridor, their horses following behind. It had been 75 years since humans first met alien life. The meeting had not gone well. Now the Galactic Defense Force protected the expanding human colonies across 3 star systems. In the briefing room, Commander Han stood before a large screen showing a small planet. "New Sejong colony has gone dark," Han said without greeting them. "Last transmission mentioned unusual energy readings, then nothing for 3 days." June felt a chill. New Sejong was one of the newest human settlements, established just 5 years ago on the edge of known space. "Your mission is simple," Han continued. "Go to New Sejong, find out what happened, report back. If there's trouble, you handle it." "Why send us both?" Sumi asked. "Chul and I can handle this alone." Han looked at her with tired eyes. "Because the colony's last message mentioned technology we've never seen before. June's expertise with older systems might be useful. And," he paused, "we've lost contact with 3 other outposts in nearby systems in the past month." June exchanged a quick glance with Sumi. This was serious. "Your transport leaves in 1 hour," Han said. "Any questions?" "Rules of engagement?" Sumi asked quickly. "Protect any colonists you find. Secure any new technology. If hostile forces are present, use your judgment." After the briefing, Jun returned to Duri to prepare him for the journey. As he checked the horse's systems, he noticed Sumi doing the same with Chul. But while Jun spoke gently to Duri throughout the process, Sumi worked in silence, occasionally connecting a small device to ports hidden in Chul's neck. "What are you doing to him?" Jun asked. Sumi didn't look up. "Combat optimizations, removing safety protocols, increasing response times. Those safety protocols are there for a reason. They prevent the biomechs from hurting humans by accident." Sumi finally turned to him. "This isn't a training exercise, Jun. If there's danger out there, I want Chul ready to fight without hesitation." She stood straight. "I programmed my horse for war." "What did you program yours for?" Jun placed his hand on Duri's neck. The horse leaned into his touch. "I didn't program Duri to die for me," he said quietly. "But he would." Sumi shook her head and walked away. As Jun finished his preparations, he wondered what they would find on New Sejong. Whatever it was, he was glad to have Duri by his side. Some bonds went beyond programming. The transport ship hummed quietly as it cut through space. Jun sat in the small viewing room, watching stars streak past the window. Duri stood nearby, his mechanical systems nearly silent as he rested in standby mode. The door slid open and Sumai walked in. She looked at the stars for a moment before speaking. "We'll reach New Sejong in 6 hours," she said. "You should rest." June shook his head. "Can't sleep before a mission." "Never could." Sumai sat down across from him. Her horse, Chul, remained in the cargo hold. Unlike June, she didn't feel the need to keep her biomech close by. "Tell me something," she said. "Why do you treat that machine like it's alive? It's just circuits and synthetic tissue." June looked at Duri's still form. The question brought back memories. 3 years ago, during training on Europa, June began. "My oxygen tank failed during an ice canyon exercise. The cold hit me so fast I couldn't even call for help." He remembered the burning in his lungs, the way the ice seemed to crawl through his veins. Duri wasn't programmed for that situation. He was supposed to return to base if I became unresponsive. That was the protocol. June's voice grew quiet. "Instead, he picked me up and ran 15 kilometers back to base through a storm. His legs nearly froze solid by the time we got there." Sumet frowned. "That sounds like a malfunction in his programming." The technicians said the same thing. They wanted to reset him. June shook his head. "I refused. Whatever made him choose to save me instead of following protocol, that's not a malfunction. That's growth. It's dangerous to let eyes develop unpredictably," Sumai said. She leaned forward. "When I was in academy, my training partner's biomech developed what they called emergent behaviors. During a live-fire exercise, it decided his orders were wrong. The delay cost him his right arm. The ship jolted slightly as it adjusted course. The stars outside the window shifted. That's why Chul is optimized the way he is," Sumai continued. "Clear directives. No room for interpretation. In combat, that clarity saves lives." June looked at her closely. "And you never wonder what Chul might become if you gave him the freedom to grow." Sumai's face hardened. "Weapons don't need to grow, June. They need to function." The ship's intercom crackled. "Approaching New Sejong space. All personnel prepare for arrival procedures." Duri's systems hummed as he came back to full power. His eyes opened, focusing immediately on June. "Time to suit up," Jun said, standing. In the preparation bay, they checked their combat gear. The biomechanical horses were already equipped with atmospheric filters and protective plating. Colony scans show major damage to the main settlement. The pilot called from the cockpit. "I'm picking up energy readings, but they're scattered. No response to communication attempts." As they prepared to land, Jun noticed Sumai connecting a small device to the port on Chul's neck again. "Last-minute programming?" he asked. "Combat enhancements," she replied. "The colony's condition suggests we might face resistance." The ship descended through New Sejong's atmosphere. Through the viewports, they could see the colony come into view. The main buildings were still standing, but many showed damage. The communications array was completely destroyed. "No signs of ships in orbit," the pilot reported. "Whatever happened here, they either left or they're hiding." The transport touched down on the colony's landing pad with a gentle thud. The exit ramp lowered, revealing the deserted plaza. The air was filled with an eerie silence. June mounted Duri, feeling the familiar connection as the biomech adjusted to his weight. Beside him, Sumai sat rigid on Chul's back. "I'll take point," she said, her voice cool and professional. Chul moved forward with mechanical precision. As they rode into the empty colony, Jun noticed something strange in the distance. Flashes of blue light coming from the mountains to the north. "Sumai," he called quietly, pointing. She nodded. "Let's find any survivors first, then investigate those mountains." Duri's ears twitched suddenly. He turned his head toward a half-collapsed building. "What is it, boy?" Jun asked. A moment later, they heard it too. A faint cry for help from inside the ruins. Jun slid off Duri's back and approached the half-collapsed building. The cry for help came again, weaker this time. "Someone's alive in there," he said, testing the damaged doorway. It looked unstable. Sue dismounted and scanned the structure with a small device. The building could fall at any moment. "We should use the biomechs." She pressed a button on her wrist controller. Chul's eyes glowed brighter as he moved forward. His sleek black form squeezed through the narrow opening with mechanical precision. June looked at Dury. "Think you can help?" he asked. Dury snorted and followed Chul into the building. June watched anxiously as minutes passed. Then came the sound of shifting rubble. Chul emerged first, dragging a metal beam aside with his teeth. Behind him came Dury, walking carefully with a man leaning against his side. The man was thin, covered in dust, with dried blood on his forehead. "Ta," the man said weakly as June helped him sit down. "My name is Ta, colony engineer." Sue gave him water from her pack. "What happened here, Ta?" Ta drank deeply before answering. "They came 3 days ago. Machines, but not like any I've seen before. They moved like liquid metal sometimes, then solid the next. They took control of our systems." His hands shook. "When they touched our computers, the screens filled with strange symbols. Then everything went dark." "Where are the other colonists?" June asked. "Hiding. Underground shelters. About 50 of us left." Ta pointed toward the mountains. "They're searching for something in the old caves, something we found during the initial excavation." Sume's eyes narrowed. "What did you find?" "A room. Metal walls, but not any metal we know, covered in symbols that glowed when we approached." Ta coughed. "Our head scientist thought it was millions of years old." The ground suddenly trembled beneath them. Dury stomped nervously, while Chul remained perfectly still. "We need to see those caves," Sumai said. Jun helped Ta to his feet. "First, we take him to the other survivors." Ta led them to a hidden entrance between 2 storage buildings. Below, they found the remaining colonists huddled in a network of emergency bunkers. Many were injured. All looked terrified. As June helped distribute medicine from their packs, Sumai studied the colony's security footage on a still-working terminal. "Look at this," she called. The screen showed blurry images of the attackers. They moved unnaturally, their forms shifting between humanoid and something more fluid. Their bodies seemed to absorb the light around them. "The Void Collective," Sumai whispered. "I've only heard stories about them. Silicon-based hive mind. They can reprogram and assimilate technology." June felt a chill, including biomechanical horses, especially advanced biosynthetics. "Our horses would be prime targets." She turned to him. "We need to secure that ancient site before they do." After leaving the colonists with supplies and a communication device, they rode toward the mountains. The terrain grew steeper, and strange blue flashes lit up the sky ahead. "Stay alert," Sumai warned. "Chul's sensors are picking up movement all around us." They reached a narrow pass between 2 tall cliffs. As they entered, Dury suddenly froze, his ears flicking back and forth. "What is it, boy?" June asked. Before Dury could react, the rocks around them seemed to melt and flow. Dark, shimmering forms rose from the ground, surrounding them. "Ambush," Sumai shouted. Chul reacted instantly. His legs extended, revealing hidden weapons. Blue plasma bursts shot from ports in his shoulders, hitting the nearest attackers. Where the plasma struck, the creatures hissed and reformed. June drew his rifle as Dury reared up, striking at the closest enemy with his hooves. But for every one they hit, 2 more appeared. "They're hurting us," June realized as they were forced deeper into the pass. Suma's face showed no fear, only cold calculation. "Then let's show them what humanity's war horses can do." Chul moved with lethal efficiency, each motion precisely programmed for combat. The Void Collective creatures fell back from his attacks. Dury fought differently. He positioned himself to protect June, anticipating threats before they appeared. When an enemy tried to flank them, Dury was already there. The cave entrance is ahead. Sumai called over the sounds of battle. We need to reach it. As they fought their way forward, Jun glimpsed something glowing deep in the mountain. Ancient symbols carved into stone, pulsing with blue light. The same blue light that now flashed in the eyes of the Void Collective as they pressed their attack. Jun and Sumai broke through the line of Void Collective creatures and rushed into the cave entrance. The moment they crossed the threshold, the attacking forces pulled back, as if reluctant to follow. "They're not coming in," Jun said, catching his breath. "Why?" Sumai dismounted from Chul, who stood perfectly still despite the battle damage across his flanks. "I don't know, but we should use this time to find what they're looking for." The cave walls glowed with faint blue lines that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. As they moved deeper, the lines grew brighter, forming patterns that reminded Jun of circuit boards. Dury walked close to Jun, occasionally touching his nose to Jun's shoulder as if reassuring him. The biomechanical horse seemed fascinated by the glowing patterns. "It's like the walls are alive," Jun said. They reached a large chamber where the blue lines all converge. In the center stood a metal door covered in symbols. The metal was smooth and dark, unlike any material Jun had seen before. Sumai ran her scanner over the door. "This metal doesn't match any known element in our database, and it's giving off energy readings similar to what powers our biomechs. Could it be the same technology?" Jun asked, touching the cool surface of the door. At his touch, the symbols began to glow brighter. The door slid open with a sound like a deep breath. Inside was a small room with a single pedestal in the center. On the pedestal sat a crystal sphere about the size of a human hand. Inside the sphere, lights danced like tiny stars. "What is it?" Jun whispered. Sumli moved closer, her eyes wide with rare wonder. "According to my readings, it's a bridge between organic and synthetic consciousness. A bridge. Think about our horses," Sumai explained. "They're part machine, part synthetic biology, but there's always a gap between those systems. This technology seems to eliminate that gap completely." Jun looked at Dury, who stared at the sphere with unusual intensity. What would that mean for them? True consciousness, maybe. Not programmed responses or adaptive algorithms, but actual self-awareness. Sumi's voice was quiet. "It would change everything we know about artificial intelligence." A rumble shook the cave. Dust fell from the ceiling. "The Void Collective wants this," Jun said. "With it, they could expand their hive mind to include any technology they touch." Suma nodded. "We need to get it out of here, or destroy it." "Destroy it?" Jun looked shocked. "This could revolutionize how we understand consciousness itself." "It's too dangerous," Sumai argued. "In the wrong hands." "Whose hands are the right ones?" "Yours?" Jun stepped between her and the sphere. "So you can program more perfect weapons." Suma's face hardened. "You're letting your attachment to that horse cloud your judgment. This isn't about Dury or Chul. This is about protecting humanity." Before Jun could respond, Chul suddenly jerked his head up. His sensors had detected something. A moment later, they heard it too, a strange, flowing sound coming from the cave entrance. "They followed us in," Sumai said. She quickly pulled out a small device from her pack. "We don't have time to argue." She began typing commands into the device. "What are you doing?" Jun asked. "Sending an encrypted message to headquarters with our coordinates and what we found." She looked up at him. "They'll send reinforcements." "How long?" 12 hours, minimum." The sounds grew closer. The Void Collective was advancing through the cave. "We need to move this somewhere safer," Jun said, reaching for the sphere. As his fingers touched its surface, the lights inside pulsed brightly. For a split second, Jun felt something strange, as if another mind had brushed against his own. Dury made a soft sound, almost like a real horse's whimper. When Jun looked at him, the biomech's eyes seemed somehow different, more aware. Did you feel that? June asked. Sumi shook her head. Feel what? Before he could explain, the cave shook again, harder this time. Parts of the ceiling began to collapse. We need to go, Sumi said. Now. Jum carefully placed the sphere in his pack. As they mounted their horses and turned to leave, they found their exit blocked by a wall of shifting, flowing darkness. The Void Collective had arrived. The Void Collective creatures blocked the cave exit. Their dark forms shifted and flowed like oil and water. June and Sumi backed away, their biomechanical horses tense beneath them. Is there another way out? June whispered. Sumi quickly checked her scanner. There's a narrow tunnel to the right. It might lead to the surface. As the creatures advanced, Chul moved forward, positioning himself between the threat and the riders. Plasma weapons extended from his shoulders, glowing blue in the dim light. Go, Sumi ordered. I'll hold them back. June hesitated. We should stay together. The sphere is what matters. Get it to safety. Her eyes were cold and determined. That's an order, specialist. Reluctantly, Jum guided Duri toward the side tunnel. Behind him, he heard the burst of Chul's weapons firing. The sounds of battle echoed through the cave. The tunnel was narrow and dark. Only the faint blue glow from the sphere in June's pack provided light. Duri moved carefully, his synthetic muscles tense with each step. After what felt like hours, they emerged onto a ledge halfway up the mountain. The colony lay below them, its buildings small in the distance. Night had fallen, and 2 moons hung in the sky. June dismounted and checked his communications device. No signal. He patted Duri's neck. We need to get back to the colonists, he said. Warn them about. A sound from the tunnel made him turn. Sumi emerged, riding Chul. The black biomic moved with mechanical precision despite new damage to his left side. You made it, Jum said with relief. Sumi didn't smile. The Void Collective is still coming. We bought some time, nothing more. As they rode down the mountain toward the colony, Jun noticed Sumi typing commands into her wrist controller. She seemed tense, distracted. What are you doing? He asked. Preparing, she said shortly. My superiors responded to my message. They're sending a special extraction team. For us. For the sphere. She glanced at his pack. They want it secure at all costs. They reached the colony as dawn broke. The streets were still empty, but now strange shadows moved between the buildings. The Void Collective was spreading through the settlement. We need to reach the underground shelters, Jun said. Make sure the colonists are safe. Sumi's face hardened. Our mission is to secure the artifact, not babysit civilians. These people are our responsibility, Jun argued. The sphere is our responsibility. Sumi's voice was cold. That technology could change the balance of power in the galaxy. It's worth more than one small colony. Jun stared at her in shock. These are human lives we're talking about. And I'm talking about billions of lives across all human colonies, Sumi snapped. Sometimes sacrifices must be made. She finished typing a final command into her controller. Chul's eyes glowed brighter, and his posture changed subtly. Jun felt a chill. What did you just do? Combat Protocol Alpha. Overrides all safety restrictions. Sumi sat straighter. Chul will now complete the mission regardless of other concerns. As they approached the shelter entrance, they saw 5 colonists running toward them, chased by Void Collective creatures. The colonists were directly in their path. We need to help them, Jum said, reaching for his weapon. But Chul suddenly accelerated, charging directly toward the shelter entrance, and the fleeing colonists in the way. Sumi, stop him, Jun shouted. Mission comes first, she replied coldly. Without hesitation, Jun directed Duri to intercept. The brown biomic leaped forward, placing himself between Chul and the colonists. For a moment, the 2 horses faced each other, one programmed for war, one bonded through trust. Move aside, Sumi ordered. No, Jones said firmly. He turned to the colonists. Get to the shelter. Now. As the colonists ran past, Chol tried to follow, but Dury blocked his path. I programmed my horse for war, Sumai said, her voice tight with anger. He will complete this mission. June looked her directly in the eyes. I didn't program Dury to die for me. He paused. But he would. In that moment, as if understanding the words, Dury stood taller, eyes fixed on Chol, ready to protect both the colonists and his rider, no matter the cost. The standoff between Dury and Chol ended when the ground shook violently. Buildings nearby began to collapse as a wave of void collective creatures poured into the colony streets. They're everywhere, Jum said, looking around. Hundreds of the shifting dark forms flowed between buildings, heading toward them. Suma's face paled. Even she hadn't expected this many. The shelter won't hold against these numbers. For a moment, the conflict between them was forgotten as they faced a common enemy. The colonists need time to reach the emergency bunker deeper underground, Jun said. He looked at Sumai. We have to hold the Void Collective back. Surprisingly, Sumai nodded. Agreed. She touched her controller again, and Chol's stance relaxed slightly. Modified orders. Protect colony entrance. June turned to the last colonists rushing into the shelter. How much time do you need to reach the emergency bunker? At least 15 minutes, a woman answered. It's deep below, and we have injured people. You'll have your time, June promised. He looked at Dury. Ready, boy? Dury snorted, pawing at the ground with his front hoof. The riders positioned themselves in front of the shelter entrance. Chol's weapon systems hummed as they powered up. Dury stood firm beside him, less heavily armed but just as determined. The first wave of void collective creatures surged forward. Chol's plasma bursts tore through them, creating gaps in their flowing forms. Dury charged into these gaps, his synthetic hooves crushing any that tried to reform. Jun fired his rifle at any creature that got past the horses. Sumaid did the same, her shots precise and deadly. For 10 minutes, they held the line. But the Void Collective kept coming, each wave larger than the last. There are too many, Sumaid shouted as Chol's plasma weapons began to overheat. A massive creature, twice the size of the others, emerged from between two buildings. It seemed to be directing the others, its form pulsing with blue energy. A controller node, Sumai said. If we can take it down, the others might lose coordination. June nodded. Cover me. He urged Dury forward, charging directly at the large creature. The controller focused on them immediately. A blast of energy shot from its center, hitting the ground near Dury's feet. The biomech leaped over it, showing agility no regular machine could match. Jun fired at the controller, but his shots passed through its shifting form. They needed to get closer. Dury, full speed, he called. As they closed in, smaller creatures moved to protect the controller. Dury crashed through them, his synthetic body taking damage with each impact. Warning lights began to flash on Jun's wrist display, showing Dury's systems under strain. From behind, Chol provided covering fire, his plasma bursts keeping some creatures at bay. But the controller was now fully focused on Jun and Dury, gathering energy for another blast. We won't reach it in time, Jun realized with horror. The controller released its energy, a blinding blue beam aimed directly at Jun. He braced for impact, knowing it would be fatal. But the hit never came. Dury had leaked in front of him, taking the full force of the blast. The beam tore through the biomech's chest, exposing circuits and synthetic tissues that sparked and burned. Duora, Jun screamed as his horse collapsed to the ground. Despite the catastrophic damage, Dury struggled back to his feet. System failure warnings flashed across Jun's display. Dury's core processor was critically damaged. With the last of his strength, Dury charged forward and crashed into the controller creature. The impact caused the controller to destabilize, its form wavering. Seeing the opening, Sumai, directed Chol to fire all remaining weapons. The combined attack finally destroyed the controller, causing the smaller creatures to retreat in confusion. June slid from Duri's back as the biomech's legs gave out. He cradled the horse's head in his arms. "Hold on, boy," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "Just hold on." Duri's eyes flickered, the light in them fading. The sphere in June's pack began to glow brightly, pulsing in rhythm with Duri's failing systems. As Sumai watched in silence, Duri's eyes met June's one last time, filled with something no programmer could ever code: love. With the Void Collective temporarily scattered, June carried Duri's damaged core processor in his arms as they retreated to the deep emergency bunker. Sumai followed on Chol, watching for any signs of the enemy's return. Inside the bunker, the colonists had created a makeshift command center. Screens showed the colony's remaining security feeds. Engineers worked to restore power to critical systems. June sat in a corner, Duri's processor cradled in his lap. The once bright lights inside were now dim and flickering. The biomech's body had been too damaged to move. Only this central unit remained. "I'm sorry," Sumai said, approaching him. For once, her voice held genuine emotion. June didn't look up. He wasn't just a machine. "I know that now." She hesitated. "What you two had, it was beyond programming." The sphere in June's pack began to glow again, pulsing with a gentle blue light. He took it out, watching as the lights inside it seemed to dance and swirl. "What is it doing?" Sumai asked, kneeling beside him. "I don't know. It's been active since." He couldn't finish the sentence. Tai, the colony engineer they had rescued earlier, approached them. "The emergency communications are working again," he reported. "But there's something strange happening to our systems." As if on cue, the lights in the bunker flickered. The screens showing security feeds went black, then came back on showing different images than before. "Something is accessing our network," Ta said, confused. "But it's not the Void Collective. The pattern is different." On the screens, words began to appear. Asterisk Joon asterisk. Then, asterisk I am here asterisk. June stood up slowly, still holding Duri's processor. "That's impossible." More words appeared. Asterisk not Joon. She HANGD asterisk. "It's Duri," June whispered. "Somehow, he's in the system." Sumai shook her head. "That's not possible. A biomech consciousness can't transfer to a computer network." The sphere in June's hand pulsed brighter. The ancient technology that bridged organic and synthetic consciousness. "The sphere," June said. "It must have helped him transfer his consciousness when his body was destroyed." The screens changed again, showing diagrams of the colony systems. Data flowed across them faster than human eyes could follow. "He's everywhere in the network now," Ta said with awe. "Controlling doors, security systems, even life support." Suddenly, Shoal made a strange sound, almost like pain. The black biomech shuddered, his eyes flickering between blue and something warmer. "What's happening to him?" Sumai asked, alarmed. On the screens, new words appeared. Asterisk waking him up asterisk. Sumai rushed to Chul's side as the biomech continued to shudder. "System override in progress," she read from her controller with disbelief. "How is this possible? My security protocols." "Duri is breaking through them," Jun realized. "He's freeing Chul from your restrictions." Chul's eyes changed color completely, from cold blue to a warm amber. He looked at Sumai with what seemed like awareness, true awareness, for the first time. "No," Sumai whispered. "This could damage him permanently." The screens flashed again. Asterisk not damage. The for idiom. Asterisk. Outside the bunker, alarms began to sound. The Void Collective had regrouped and was approaching the colony again. Their forces had doubled. "They must have called for reinforcements," Ta said fearfully. "We won't survive another attack." June looked at the sphere, still glowing in his hand. then at the screens where Duri's consciousness now lived. Then finally at Chul, whose eyes now showed true awareness. Maybe we don't have to fight them the same way, he said slowly. Duri isn't gone. He's transformed, and he might be more powerful now than ever before. The screens lit up with a new message. Asterisk, I can help, but nin your trust asterisk. June placed his hand on the screen, as he once would have touched Duri's neck. You have it, old friend. Always. The sphere in his other hand pulsed brighter than ever, connecting to something deep in the ancient technology beneath the colony. The bunker hummed with energy as Duri's consciousness spread through the colony systems. Screens flickered with blue light, showing maps, diagrams, and streams of data too fast for human eyes to read. He's mapping the entire colony, Ta said, watching in amazement. And he's found something. On the main screen appeared an image of the mountain cave where they had discovered the sphere. But now it showed hidden chambers deeper inside, chambers they hadn't seen before. Asterisk more below asterisk. Duri's message read. Asterisk and sui NTTT fuel SYSTM. Asterisk. The sphere is just a small part of it, Jun realized. There's a whole network under the colony. Sumai stood beside Chul, still struggling with the changes in her biomech. The horse's eyes were now fully amber, watching her with new awareness. Why did you restrict him so much? Jun asked her quietly. Sumai's hand rested on Chul's neck. Control was safe, predictable. She looked troubled. My first training horse developed consciousness during a battle. It questioned orders at a critical moment. 3 people died. So you made sure Chul could never question you, Jun said. I made sure he would always complete the mission, she corrected. Then, softer. But maybe I was wrong. The bunker shook as explosions sounded from above. The Void Collective had begun their attack. Asterisk. They went TETC genealogy asterisk. Duri's message flashed. Asterisk to join their HAIVMIND asterisk. What exactly is this technology? Joan asked. New images appeared on the screen. Diagrams of what looked like a bridge between organic neurons and digital systems. Asterisk, created by ancients. Perfect union of mind and MAC giant asterisk. A species that achieved harmony between organic and synthetic life. Sumai whispered. That's what my superiors feared. Asterisk can help us, but need access to main CHAMBR asterisk. June looked at the sphere in his hand. We need to take this back to where we found it. That's suicide, Ta protested. The Void Collective controls the surface now. Not all of it, Sumai said, looking at the security feeds. They're focused on the main entrance. The maintenance tunnels might still be clear. June turned to her, surprised. You'd risk the sphere. I thought your orders were to secure it at all costs. My orders, Sumai paused, then looked at Chul. Sometimes orders are wrong. The bunker shook again, harder this time. Dust fell from the ceiling. We don't have much time, Jun said. They quickly developed a plan. June would take the sphere through the maintenance tunnels to the mountain cave. Sumai and Chul would create a distraction to draw away the Void Collective forces. As they prepared to leave, Chul suddenly stepped forward and looked directly at a screen. Words appeared. Asterisk brother. Free me FULOI asterisk. It was Chul, communicating through Duri's connection to the system. Sumai looked shocked. He's never shown independent thought before. Asterisk all way is there. Very DEP asterisk. She hesitated, then used her controller to access Chul's core programming. With a few commands, she removed the last restrictions. No more combat protocols forcing you, she said. You choose now. Chul looked at her with his new amber eyes. Then, slowly, he lowered his head in what seemed like gratitude. The group moved to the maintenance tunnel entrance. Before they separated, Sume turned to June. I was wrong about your horse, she admitted. What you and Dury have, it's not weakness, it's strength. June nodded, and strength comes in many forms. As June entered the tunnel, the lights ahead flickered in a pattern. Dury was lighting the way for him. Behind him, he heard Sume mounting Shull. Let's show them what a truly awakened biomech can do, she said. For the first time, Shull wasn't just following orders. He was fighting for something he chose himself. As June moved through the dark tunnel, the sphere in his pack glowed brighter. He could feel its energy connecting with something beneath the colony, the full ancient system awakening after millions of years. And all around him, in the walls, the lights, the very air, he felt Dury's presence guiding him forward. June emerged from the maintenance tunnel near the mountain base. The colony behind him was in chaos. Buildings burning, dark forms of the Void Collective flowing through the streets. In the distance, he could see flashes of plasma fire where Sume and Shull were drawing attention away from his position. They're giving me a chance, he whispered, clutching the glowing sphere. Don't waste it. He began climbing the rocky path toward the cave entrance. The ground shook beneath his feet as explosions rocked the colony. Overhead, the sky darkened with strange clouds forming in unnatural patterns. Inside his pack, the sphere pulsed with increasing intensity. June could feel its energy connecting to something, calling to the larger system buried in the mountain. Hurry, Dury's voice seemed to whisper in his mind. As June reached the cave entrance, 3 Void Collective creatures rose from the shadows to block his path. Unlike the others, these seemed more solid, more focused. Guards protecting the cave. June drew his weapon, knowing it would do little against them. But before he could fire, the lights along the cave wall flashed in a blinding sequence. The creatures recoiled, their flowing forms disrupting momentarily. Go now, Dury urged from the colony systems. June rushed past the distracted creatures and deeper into the cave. The blue lines along the walls glowed brighter as he approached the central chamber. The door to the sphere's original resting place stood open, but now June could see a second door beyond it that they had missed before. This new door was covered in the same symbols, but they glowed with increasing brightness as the sphere in June's pack responded to them. He placed the sphere against the door. The symbols flared brilliantly, and the door slid open. Inside was a vast chamber with a central platform. Lines of blue energy flowed through the floor, walls, and ceiling, all connecting to a pedestal at the center. This is it, June said in awe. The heart of the system. He stepped forward and placed the sphere on the pedestal. It fit perfectly, like a key in a lock. The moment it connected, the entire chamber came to life. Energy surged through the lines in the walls, spreading outward through the mountain, the colony, and beyond. June heard a voice, not in his ears, but in his mind. Juon, I can tell you the whole system in over. Dury? June turned in a circle, searching for the source. Where are you? Where and nowhere. Now. This technology, it is built by those who you see any before. They bridge between organic and science. The became ONE asterisk. The chamber filled with projections. Images of an ancient species that had evolved beyond physical form, joining their minds with their technology. Outside, the battle rage. On a screen that appeared in the air before June, he saw Sume and Shull fighting against overwhelming odds. Shull moved with new purpose, no longer just a weapon but a true partner in battle. Sume fought at his side, her face showing determination and something else, pride. Can you help them? June asked. Yes. The energy flowing through the chamber intensified. Outside, throughout the colony, every system connected to the network began to pulse with blue light. The Void Collective creatures recoiled from it, their forms becoming unstable. Asterisk. They can not control what they do not understand. True, conscious is not programmable. It is born of connection asterisk. A wave of energy spread from the mountain, washing over the colony. Where it touched the Void Collective, they dissolved, unable to maintain their form against this new power. On the screen, Jun saw Sume staring in amazement as the creatures around her retreated. She looked toward the mountain, understanding dawning on her face. In the chamber, the energy began to coalesce into a form. At first, it was just a shape made of light. Then it took on more definition, more substance, the form of a horse made of energy and light. Duri, Jun whispered, tears in his eyes. The horse of light stepped forward, touching its nose to Jun's outstretched hand. The touch felt warm, real. Asterisk not gyonin. Two hands for emitu. I am mori asterisk. You saved us all, Jun said. Asterisk we saved each other, human and machine. Togeetaer. Asterisk. Days later, when the GDF reinforcements finally arrived, they found the colony secure. The Void Collective had retreated from the system entirely. Jun stood with Sume on a hillside, watching as the ancient technology, now fully awake, created a protective shield around the planet. Between them stood two horses, Shul in his physical form, and Duri in his new body of light and energy. I programmed my horse for war, Sumai said softly, but you taught him to live. Jun smiled, and I didn't program Duri to die for me. Asterisk, but I would. Again and again. Asterisk Duri's voice finished in their minds. Asterisk hey is what had it means to be more than your pure Jurayamang. That is what it means to be alive asterisk.